What's going on, fishy friends? We are excited. We are at the last leg of the trip tonight. This is our fourth fishing report, and we are traveling down to the state of Georgia, my home state, to have a fishing report with Captain Merwin Massa of Coastal Creek Charters. Before we get into that, we will have a prize, as we've done for every show of the night, for question of the night. And Captain Moss is going to choose this question. These are baits that are really hot up here in the mid-Atlantic region right now. So this is let me get it faced the right way. This is a 6-inch BKD. It's a fluke style bait. And this is going to be hot really from now all the way to, January. It used to be Rocktober in this area. Now it's like Rockvember, Rocksember, even Rockuary. And then the other one is a half ounce GI jig rain minnow. So question of the night, chosen by Captain Massa, will get that prize. Let's bring in Captain Massa now. How are you, sir?
Another great day in Darien.
Another great day in Darien. You're a busy man right now. You're sending me, video pictures of you fishing. Yet you're the assistant superintendent of the McIntosh County School District. Are you cloning yourself? Like, how are you getting all this done?
Well, I'm really blessed that our afternoons are getting dark late, so I'm able to bust out a couple afternoons and then have a great family that allows me to do a lot of fishing on the weekends and scouting and preparing, and then obviously going out on those charters. So just a great time of year. This is it. This is the start of what I'm going to call one of the most epic years in the record books. I believe it's going to be.
This year coming to a close, or this year getting ready to start?
Just starting. This what I consider the prime time here in coastal Georgia. Things are really starting to heat up. The bite is getting hot. It's an exciting time. Every time I go out, I'm expecting a real deal coastal adventure.
So let's talk about that bite. It's firing up. What's pulling that drag right now, Captain Massa?
Well, I'll tell you, what I'm really excited about is the redfish population. Man, our redfish population has exploded. And this year has been something special. It really has been. Now, I'll have to say that for the first few months before now, I would say we caught tons and tons of fish that were 13, 12 inches, but you go out and no problem catch 25, 30 fish, sprinkled in there some slot limit, but they were all 12, 13, 14 inches, right in that range. But a redfish grows pretty quick. So right now they're starting to come into some legal fish, where if you wanted to take home some meat, you definitely could. But the big fish are starting to come in, and we're catching them hot right now. So that's really exciting, just to know how many young fish are out there that, like I said, it's been just a magical experience. You cannot even imagine how many redfish we're catching, and knowing how fast they grow, it's a recipe for big time fishing here soon. So the fight's on.
Massa, you've been on, I think this is like maybe the 4th or 5th report you've done with us, monthly report. We've never actually asked, where did big time come from? That's kind of your go-to. I love it personally.
It's
big time.
Something that has been in my toolbox of sayings. I have a few that my friends and family know that you can expect a few standards. Another great day in McIntosh. It's big time, and a couple others that some of the viewers will catch on as we keep doing this show, if I'm blessed to be on.
You know what? As long as you keep bringing this positive vibe, we'll be here for you. So I think this will keep going. You talked about, these smaller drum, and now they're talking, you're getting a little bit of a bigger class of fish. What's that slot limit looking like in Georgia? For those that might not know.
Well, our slot limit is 14 to 23, and we're right now going under some review for our redfish take home. It's always been 5 fish per person without a limit per boat. So if you pack that boat up, you could put 5 for every person. But the new regulations that are coming out, which I'm very in favor of, it's going to be a 3 fish limit, 9 per boat, and the captain doesn't count. So that's a little change in there. So if I'm bringing out 2 people, that's six fish, and any fish that I catch or can't count towards that limit, or they can't catch extra because I'm on the boat. So that plus
Okay.
the young
So
spot,
basically, the captain doesn't get to keep anything.
really big. What was that?
I said the captain doesn't get to keep anything. Is that what I'm understanding?
Can't count towards the limit. That's right.
Okay. So you've talked about shark a little bit in the last few episodes. Is that still a bite that's happening?
Man, I tell you that we're really blessed here again for a shark bite is almost automatic. If you're going to soak a bait on the bottom, you can almost guarantee that you're going to get a shark bite. Every redfish hole, if you throw a line out with a knocker rig out, the back out a little bit deeper, they're on those shelves, you're going to get shark bites. So that's a no-brainer and an easy line pull, tight lines right there every time. But I'll tell you what I really am excited about is I always catch mullet. I get bait, for charter fishing. If they want to go and do artificial, I'm happy to do that. And I think it's great. But people want to catch fish. And a lot of times that live bait works. So I'll get shrimp, and there'll be plenty of shrimp on the boat. But if I have any extra time or the people will allow me, I'm going to just cast net for some mullet. But the other day I was out cast netting for mullet and we didn't find any. But one cast, I casted about 30 or 40 pogies. And then typically that's our offshore bait of choice, a pogie.
One cast with the cast net.
Cast net with a cast net, and had plenty of them in the boat. And it was something really special. That day I caught 4 over 18-inch trout on pogies. It's something that I haven't done in the past, but boy, I added that to my toolbox for sure. Just free lined a pogie out the back as I'm fishing for redfish and trout on the side in the typical way. Bam, bam, bam. So
that's interesting. You just cannot really replace time on the water in terms of learning stuff. Like, had anyone ever told you to live line a pogie for a trout?
Absolutely not. Not specifically for a trout at all. Possibly a tarpon, possibly a redfish on the bank. They love a pogie. There's no doubt about that. But that day just seemed to be something special. They were eating on pogies and just had to turn around, drag peeling off, big, beautiful trout. So putting a line out the back and just letting it be out there is something that we're definitely adding to the repertoire.
Throwing a cast net's fun too, and it's a nice way to show off to the customers, right? Like,
only when you do it good. Only when you do not the half moons. But
yeah,
always a great adventure. I think that getting bait is part of the whole fishing experience, and people,
sure.
Not one person said, no, let's not spend the time. Let them get into a little creek and have a cast net full of mullet or pogies is a good time for sure, especially when the kids are on the boat.
Yeah, Lady C and I, speaking of when you throw it right, it looks good. Lady C and I, have spent many time with like the GoPro running or the iPhone recording, and me throwing the cast net. I'm like, delete that one. Let's throw it again and wait till I get the nice big pancake.
That's right.
We got questions rolling in. All right, so we got a question from Lady C. Yes. Not eligible for the prize. You don't get the prize. We'll take care of Lady C's question first because I think it's a good one, and I was going to ask it. Uh, Lady C says, can you still catch tarpon in your region this time of year?
Man, that is the fish of a lifetime that I'm seeking every trip. I'm going to be looking for rolling tarpon, and right now they're still in thick. The water hasn't gotten cold at all. We have them, and they're up the rivers still, and around these big bends with some deep drops. I see them every time. So there's plenty of opportunities for tarpon, unfortunately, and I'm looking for somebody out there that's wanting to specifically go and spend a full day on a charter tarpon fishing. That will be a good time. There's plenty of those out there. All right, all right.
This
Got
guy, I'd love to do that, man. We just got to figure out a way to get this 600 miles to just kind of evaporate. The 600 miles between me and you, to go away. I can't, although I can't really use gas prices anymore. The gas prices have kind of gotten down manageable. But yeah, man, like this is going to happen because I mean, the tarpon aren't going away next year. So me, you on that boat, we're going to hook a tarpon.
St. Simon's Island's legendary for tarpon right off the beach, and it's a little gem secret that here in McIntosh we have them off of our beaches and in those rivers, and it's they're fickle. Now, I'm not saying they're just feeding up on anything, but I love to try for them, and have hooked a few, and can't wait to make a full day charter out of it with somebody and let them catch their fish of a lifetime.
So I have one more question, and I'm going to ask it because we got some other questions and comments rolling in that'll probably take us for the rest of the show. But you brought up a knocker rig for shark. For those that aren't familiar with the rigs that you may tie in Georgia, tell us about what a knocker rig is, and then I think you brought something with you to kind of explain another rig that you fish with down there in Georgia.
Well, for when we're out bull red fishing or even shark fishing, it's the most simple setup. It's a egg sinker with a leader, and the sinker goes all the way down to the leader, and it's sliding up and down the leader.
So the sinker's sliding on the braid or on the leader?
On the leader, we can have it on the leader. A lot of people like to put it on the braid with a swivel and then have the leader out, but a knocker rig like this will go all the way to the leader. Because
so you're talking about like a fish finder rig, essentially.
I would say that that was the thing. I tell you that I made a lot of mistakes for a lot of years that I thought that you needed 4 or 5 foot of leader and a swivel. And then talked to a couple of my charter friends and said, what's happening is it's down on the bottom and it's waving around in that current all over the place. You got to get that bait tight to the bottom and a little bit more still than what I was having. And as soon as I changed that up, I tell you, I started catching a lot more fish, getting a lot more bites, because I think it's just a little easy for them. It's pinned down and it's there for them to gobble up, and yet still not feel it when they pick it up. They can pull it away from that egg sinker and still have plenty of time to take that second bite.
So you talked about a 4 foot leader down to what? Is it 24 inches now?
Well, it depends on if I have the egg sinker above the swivel, it's going to be very short. I'm talking 10, 15 inches, maybe 10. But if I have it right there, I can have a little bit longer of a leader, in hopes of maybe catching that tarpon and not having that rub. A tarpon will rub it raw. So that's the reason that I have it below the leader line, is that it's right there and I can have a little longer leader without sacrificing getting it right to the bottom.
Got it. And you were going to demonstrate another rig that you use tonight?
What I was going to demonstrate is a little tip that I want to save somebody some of the pain that I've caused. So what I have here is the way I tie my jig heads, my just straight hooks. Is what you see here is I've tied it on with a standard knot. You can do any of them, but when you go to cinch down that knot, I don't know how many times I've wrapped this line and I've cut that pinky finger. When you want to really put some torque on it, a lot of times you'll cut that finger right here at that crease, and man, that hurts. So what I started doing was I use my scissors. I'll take my jig head, I'll put it in there, I'll wrap it, and then an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Before I get that cut, before that charter, I'm going to wrap that finger in just a little bit of Band-Aid. It's a cloth Band-Aid. It sticks on, no problem. And then, man, no problem. I can get that in there and torque that knot down without having to have any hurt on that finger. So just wanted to share that and maybe save somebody out there that cut that can burn. Get a little salt water in there.
Man, I think I still have scars on these on both hands. And I spoke before, mono and fluoro don't seem to fit. They don't seem to fit in my skin creases. They don't seem to get me. Uh-oh. Where'd he go? Oh, there he is. Mono and fluoro don't seem to cut me. But that braid, I remember there was a summer where the cow nose rays, which is kind of like a stingray up here, they were just running rampant on the Chesapeake Bay. And I was a big kayak troller at the time, and they were just crushing me. They were just taking, plug after plug after plug after plug, in trolling, and I was losing, hundreds of dollars of bait to these cow nose rays. So I bulked up my tackle to like a 50-pound braid and a 50-pound fluoro, because I was like, I'm catching one of these buggers. And I hooked one, and I pulled them all the way up to the kayak. And it's the first time this had ever happened to me. And I took my hand and I grabbed that braid and I wrapped it around. And a cow nose ray is, it's just like a mini bull shark. I mean, this thing is so strong, and it just whipped, and like I just looked down, and blood just pouring into the water from my hand. So yeah, that trick, that tip, that captain's tip is really good stuff. I've done enough talking. Shore Sharp has a question. He says, Captain, do you fish oyster bars for reds and specks in the fall?
I always say that if you're not getting on the bottom and getting hooked up, you're not where the fish are. So I constantly am looking for the oyster bars. One of my favorite things to do is ride around at a negative tide and take a look at where everything is. And when that water gets covered up, I'm there. That's going to be my primary first stop, is all the oyster bars. I really like a popping cork too. I fish the bottom most of the time, but I'll pop a popping cork right over those oyster bars nonstop. So that's a prime area and one of the biggest things I'm looking for. If there's not some structure there, I'm moving on. So only if I'm looking for maybe some flounder around some of these creek mouths with no structure, that's about the only time I'm not fishing over those oysters or around them. That's a great question.
That's good stuff. Let's see. We have Carl Ward coming in with a question. He says, how does your fishery change as the seasons change? Summer to fall, and fall to winter. Carl, you just bring your A game, brother. I mean, like, this guy, I told him, like, stop going to your tackle shop. We're going to put your tackle shop out of business. Carl's just going to fill his tackle shop off the fishing channel. But he has a great question. How does your fishery change as the seasons change, summer to fall and fall to winter?
What I'm really love about our fishery is that we have fish in it all year round. What really changes is the sizes. When the small ones are schooling up, like I would say that middle of summer, the fish are a lot smaller, and where they are. They come out of those creeks and rivers, and they're in the big mouths. As the water temperature cools down and things get cooler, they start going up deeper into those creeks. So where they are, depending on the water level, makes a big factor. And then the best time to fish is that winter time, when some people are a little bit timid to go out because of the cold. The fish are on fire around that time. That's when we're getting our biggest redfish, our biggest trout. Our trout tournament is always in November. So we really love that cold weather, whereas the warmer weather slows things down away. So I'm really looking for water temperatures and depth. So if I can know that it's cold, I'm going to fish deep. When it's warm, I'm fishing shallow until the middle of the day, and then they drop deep. So again, size of the fish, the amount of fish, and where they are really depends on the season. Right now, they're starting to head up those creeks, even though it's a little early, and the size is getting big. It's big time right now.
Big time. When we talk about water temperatures, I know everyone's always looking at their graph. They're looking at their sonar for that water temperature. And you bring up water temperature, and that means one thing in Texas. It means one thing in New York. It means one thing in the DMV area, and it means another thing in Georgia, Florida, South Carolina. What's that kind of Walleye Pete mentioned before this, that there's kind of a magic number he goes by. What's your magic number when it comes to those reds moving into those creeks and getting into those deeper spots?
I want to be able to say right now and throw out a number out here and say this is it. But honestly, the true honest answer to that question is I'm not looking at the specific. It's 84 degrees. It's 73 degrees. I'm looking for more of the trends that the temperature in general is warming up. I'm going to go to these spots on these outer edges of the bay. And then when it's getting cold, I'm going up deeper, and that's just where I'm searching. So a lot of people do get caught up into the specific, what the temperature is, and I'm just not. My fishing style is I'm moving constantly, maybe too much at times. I think sometimes I pass fish that if I would have been a little more patient, but I'm just moving around and knowing the general areas of it. So I don't want to get caught in there and tell somebody a number that is just not true, because I'm not looking that close. I'm looking at the bigger picture. The water's cooling down, the water's heating up, and going with that. That's the honest truth.
That's probably a good way to go. I get so caught up in my fish finder. When I was telling a buddy fishing the other day that when I switch over to the Navionics, where I can see the map, I'm always worried that there's fish on the graph and I'm missing it. So I can't set it up where I get the map and in the fish finder right where it makes me happy. But we have Shore Sharps asking another question. He says, Captain, do you guys float rig for specs? I have a buddy in Jacksonville who enjoys the float rig for spec fishing.
Absolutely. I think that if you were to line up 10 boats around us, you're going to see a cork on 8 or 9 of them. That's for sure. For me, though, and what I like to do is I'm on the bottom. I don't know why that's been something that I've been drawn to, but it's as simple as a jig head with a live bait on the bottom, simply tied, line to leader, braid to leader, and sitting it on the bottom and working it slowly back. I have captain friends of mine. I have captain friends of mine that constantly are floating those corks, and they do good. And I'm not saying that anybody. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
My daughter's calling. I can't tell her, don't call. So she should be watching. So we float corks all the time, and when it's appropriate, when I'm trying to cover horizontal ground along that bank, I'm going to do that a lot. But for me personally, if I'm by myself or if it's just me and a buddy and I have a choice, I'm on the bottom and working that, because I can work that column anywhere I want. But I'm just covering it from the bank back and fan casting that bank. So I feel like I'm covering the same area, yet I'm covering back towards the boat a lot more. So To me, I cover more area, and I just feel a lot more effective that I can put that jig head in the same area that I'm floating it down. It's just a different presentation.
You know, one of the really great things, selfishly, that's come out of these fishing reports is I feel like I've become a much better angler because you know, I'm talking to guys, you know, Eloy, who just asked a question here that we're going to get to in a second. But I mean, we're talking about like a 1,200-mile spectrum that we're covering, of fishing styles. You know, talking about float rigs. You know, we had Roy Rig, the guy that invented the Roy Rig, on tonight. So I've become a much better angler, and I've really gotten some positive feedback on other people as well. So Eloy from Cape Coral's Jupiter Kayak Fishing asks, why is your leader line shorter when you use a swivel versus no swivel?
Well, again, when I don't use a swivel, I want to make sure that that bait is close to the ground, or close to the ground. So if you imagine, if I had a longer leader line and no swivel, that I can get that egg sinker right near to that bait, and it sticks to the bottom. But if I have a swivel and I have a longer leader line, it stops that leader, and that leader line is waving around in the current, and it's moving all over the place, which is not necessarily bad, but I just felt like I've got more strikes and better bites when it was a little bit more contained, and right there, easy for the fish, where he's not trying to catch it in his mouth and chase it around a little bit. So it's all about getting that bait still, letting it soak on the bottom, and stay still is the reason of the leader line lengths.
Yeah, Carl wanted to say awesome tip on the braided line and the Band-Aid. Good job on that. Scheduling a trip with Captain Massa, what's somebody got to do?
Well, you know, I'm not sure about all the other captains, but you know, a text message to me is golden. I always return my text messages. I have a great website. It's coastalcreekcharters.com, and an email will work. Facebook Messenger is one of the main places that I get a lot of my calls from. So just the standard text messages, my number's at the bottom. Facebook Messenger and emails is the best way. You know, I want to take this opportunity too. I know that I'm a great captain and I feel good about myself, but Darien itself and McIntosh County is a great place to come in. And I'm not a full-time guide. So I want to give a shout out to just a couple of the other guide services out there, because they've helped me through my learning curve. And I think that if I'm not available, any of these couple will be a great choice. The first is Real Busy Shark Charters with Captain Billy Stafford. Billy Stafford is a friend of mine, and
So is that real, like REEL?
That's Real Busy, REEL, Busy Shark Charters. A great boat. Happens to be, he has a 23-foot Parker just like me, so you'll be in a great setup. And then we have Mad Shark Charters with Captain Adam House, and then also Time and Tide Charters with Captain Carlton Sawyer. Any of those three would be a great choice. We make a great team. We all fish out of Blue and Hall Marina. That's the McIntosh County Rod and Gun Club, otherwise known as Blue and Hall Marina, right here in Darien. We're a great team, and we want to just know that if you come to Darien, we're not in some kind of charter war or anything. We just want to put people on fish and show them what our coast is like and the beauty of it, because you'll come back for sure. If you have one experience with one of us, you'll want to come back.
Yeah, I got to go ditto on my man Carl's comment. Lots of props for giving credit where it's due. We've got great captains and personalities all up and down the East Coast. That's the first time somebody's been stand up enough to recommend other charter captains. So good stuff on that. My co-host put up the information, Lady C. Real Busy Shark Charters, Mad Shark Charters, Time and Tide Charters. others recommended by Captain Massa if you were in McIntosh or Darien, Georgia. That's how we say it down there, Georgia.
That's right. That's right.
The stuff, the 6-inch white BKDs, the 1/2 ounce rain minnow. I'd like to whip this through some of the water columns down there in Georgia. Captain Massa, you got a winner for the question of the night?
You know, I really like that clarification question on why the leader is so important, or why I choose the shorter leader, because it was a game changer for me. Again, I had mine flapping out in the wind, I like to call it, and as soon as I tightened it up and put it closer to the bottom, it made a huge difference. So asking for clarification on that, I think, is the winner in my book.
Well, I think it's the first time we've ever had one of our other captains win a prize. But Lady C, do you see any reason why that's not allowed?
No, I support it. Right on.
Yeah, right. Why not? Right. We're building a community.
No bias here.
There's no bias. We're building a community of anglers and fishermen and good people. So Eloy, you got some. Although you know what, my man E, you're gonna have to change your fishing tactics, because I know where you fish, brother, and these are not gonna be your typical baits. So E, you might have to find some deeper water, brother. But he says, give it away. No, nope, you're getting it. We are sending it to you, sir. Captain Massa, final words. You want to close this out?
I want to say that I'm praying for your family and my family, and just want you to know that you've got so much support. It's a pleasure to be on the show. You're doing big things, and just getting the word out about fishing and enjoying the outdoor life, and the fellowship with our fellow fishermen is big, and you're appreciated in a big way. You and Lady C know that I'm praying for all of us.
You're the man. Captain Massa, it was such a pleasant surprise to be connected with you, and to have you be a part of this family. I've enjoyed every single one of these shows, and every month when we see you come up, I'm like, oh man, I hope it's my turn to do Massa, because I have such a good time.
Fight over it.
Yeah, we have to fight over it. Unfortunately, I lose the arm wrestling.
Well, we'll be fishing together soon, and I'd like to do a little show. You can teach me a little bit about my graphics on my electronics, and maybe give me some pointers on some camera techniques.
Oh, you're a Garmin guy, right?
I am.
All right, hang on. Let me do full screen for me. All right, for Garmin guys, if you want to find fish on your side imaging, so this is for the 93 and 94 UHD units. If you want to find more fish on those units, drop your frequency down to the lowest frequency available. If you want to see structure better, jack that frequency up to the 1100. What did you think about that? Did you know that, Massa?
I'll be all over that.
Did you know that?
Well, you told me that, and I've already tried it, and have to give you, you're right.
I mean, yeah. My only issue with Garmin is you kind of have to fool around with your brightness and your contrast a little bit. If you're in, 4 to 8 feet of water versus 20, but you're probably in pretty consistent depths, right? Where you're probably not going to fish 25 feet of water and 5 feet of water in the same day, are you?
No.
Hey, yeah, so that's an issue for us up here on the bay, is I have to make that adjustment. But yeah, the lower frequency seems to find fish. If I had it pulled up, we came on across some bull reds. It was actually the same day, and we're running the show long, but it was the same day when Captain Tom Weaver caught his world record redfish on a fly rod on his boat. He actually came by and said hello just a few minutes before they caught that fish. But I had the Garmin on the lower frequency, and Lady C and I pulled up, and a captain said, don't come any further, you're going to roll over the fish. And I look on my side imaging, and there was literally, Captain Massa, 1,000 bull reds off to my port side.
Wow.
And you could just see the water kind of, you could smell, you know, Captain Travis Long up here told me one time, and I thought he was crazy. He said, when you get around a lot of bull reds, you can smell watermelon. And I was like, you're crazy. He's right. When there's a bunch of big bull reds, next time you're around them, you can smell it, watermelon.
I'm dreaming about that day to see some of those shots I see online where there's 1,000 or all on the top. I haven't experienced it yet, but time will be my friend, and I'll end up getting my opportunity. That's for sure.
You know, you could always come north.
Yeah, there we go. A trip might be heading that way.
All right, brother.
All right.
Well, thank you so much, man. We always appreciate you. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. Captain Massa, thank you for staying a few minutes late. And we will check you guys next time, fishy friends.
Big time.
Big time.
Young, just ain't